welcome to What We Learned This Week, episode 30.
What?
Do that again.
What?
I'm Shalene.
And I'm Liz.
Liz is the, what do they call it in Howdy Doody? The Peanut Gallery?
Yes, I'm really excited about the fact that we made it to 30.
I do like even numbers, don't you?
No. Yes. And I'm trying to think here. No, I don't. I do all the odds all the time.
Okay.
When I'm teaching, I'm like, do 3 more breaths, 5 more breaths.
But are you even on each side? Like, do you do the same thing on the right side as left side? Okay.
Totally.
Because that drives me crazy. I'm like,
oh my
I'm going to be lopsided.
I was the only one that ever did that. Like, I step on something on the left and I have to do it on the right.
Me too.
Okay, we're nuts.
No, we're normal.
Welcome to the show.
It should be even.
It should be even.
We have 2 arms. They're meant to do the same.
That's right.
Even though, don't people in yoga say, just do what feels good, because sometimes one side is stronger than the other.
That's true. Yeah, that's truth. But it's interesting, like, when you do that, you still feel like you kind of need some balance on the other. Like, I never do just one thing on one side of my body.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been in some yoga classes where I think the teachers are a tad forgetful, maybe.
Oh, that does drive me nuts. You can't do a whole sequence on your one side and forget the other.
Yeah, it drives me. I feel like I have to go in the back and do it when they're done.
You totally do. Do it.
Crazy. All right. Liz is in charge where it might not matter.
But we're going to do it anyway.
No, we're not. We're going to talk about it.
But we're going to talk about it anyway. It's only episode 30. I should get this by now.
You knew what you were doing. You're trying to mess me up.
Actually, I was totally hung up still on the fact that we did it later in our intro, and it was kind of fun. I liked changing it up. Okay. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
My voice is scratchy for some reason.
It's all that shouting at Disney World while you were there having a party.
Yeah, it was. My sister on one of the rides said, "Are you shouting just for the fun of it, or were you really like that excited?" And I said,
"That's awesome."
Well, kind of both. Like, it's fun being on a roller coaster. She was so embarrassed.
That's awesome. That's okay, Shalene. We could go out together because I was that kid and my kids. Seriously.
Were they so embarrassed?
They were so embarrassed. I made them go on Frozen with me, and I like sang and I moved my arms and I got into it, and they would like stuff me down in the seat. Like, "Stop it, Mom." I'm like, dude, it's Elsa right there. Like, I have to sing with her. They did not like it.
That's amazing.
It was so embarrassing, and I had so much fun doing it.
Oh, so I will
go with you and be embarrassed together or something like that.
Well, my sister is funny because she was like, "I know you were excited about Disney, but we went to go swim with the manta rays when we were in Hawaii."
Oh, wow.
And we had like snorkels on and everything.
Oh, this was a different trip.
This is, different.
Oh, okay.
And I could hear her next to me going,
because the snorkel's on her face?
No, it's because the manta rays would like swim right underneath you and brush you.
Oh my gosh.
And so she, every time, so we always tease her. So we each have our own thing that brings us a little bit of joy. Apparently hers are fish.
Hers are manta rays that she's swimming with live.
They were kind of cool.
I would have a hard time not being super giddy.
Would you really?
Yeah. We swam with turtles once in Hawaii, and not just like little turtle, like giant sea turtles that are bigger than you. I did not know they could get that big.
Wow.
But when they are coming to nest, and we were up on North Shore at this one beach where they were nesting, and it was just my husband and I, like for 2 seconds, because for some reason we were out on a date that evening. My parents had the kids. Oh, I think it was the night before we'd stayed out. It was our anniversary. That's right.
Oh,
so we looked for just a fun place to go snorkel, and we didn't even know, like, we weren't paying attention to anything. We happened upon the beach, saw a bunch of people.
Oh, so you weren't on a tour or anything?
No, yeah. And it happened to be as all the, like, it was amazing.
How close were they to you?
Oh my gosh, right next to us. And you can't touch them because you will get fined. If anybody sees that you even touch them, like even if it's on accident, you could totally get fined out there because it's such a big deal to stay away from the wildlife, of course. So I'm trying to stay away from the turtles, but they're so big and amazing. And the whole time it was the same thing. I've got my snorkel on and just freaking out because they were right there. Oh, wow. It was so magnificent. Like, there is nothing like, I mean, you're in the water with them. Your face is in the water. That's beautiful.
Cool. I bet it is. Seeing some certain wildlife, just like we talked about giraffes before, just has some majesty to them. And I feel like turtles in some way do. I don't know why.
Yeah, they're just, I think any of it really, if you really stop and pay attention to it, it's kind of cool. It's kind of a big deal, right? Love it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We're always ready. That's what we say every time, isn't it? Today, we're going to talk about being curious.
Love it.
Not Mr. Rogers Curious, Shalene.
And not Curious George Curious?
And not Curious George. Well, yeah, not Curious George Curious. But I read this little 2-minute article. I have this app called Medium, and I actually decided to subscribe to it for a little while because then I have kind of an online reading forum for just all different kinds of authors, all different kinds of subjects.
Where does the name come from, like Medium?
I actually have no idea.
I think of the TV show, like the psychic
I know,
lady.
me too. And so I'm not sure. I'd have to do more research on it. I don't even know how I stumbled across it. I think I just found a random article and I got to read some of their free articles, and then they started sending me stupid headings that were really interesting, and I could never read the free ones anymore because it was like you can only read 3 a month or something.
Oh,
and
like
finally I was like, yeah, and I was just super annoyed. So I'm like, fine, I'll pay stupid $5. Like that's not hardly anything. Yes, that's like a magazine, and I get tons of different articles. And this one happened to be in like a networking business category, but it's by a man named Dave Schools. And the long and short of it was he talked about how 2 words can change and make small talk interesting. And so he talked about how these 2 words can change your small talk, can make things interesting. And I was super intrigued because if we talked about, I struggle with surfacey conversations. Like I can hang out with it, but the struggle is real. Like if we can't ever eventually move beyond, hi, how are you? How are your kids? How's the weather? Like I have no interest in you.
Why is the weather a thing?
I don't know.
But I find myself wanting to talk about it, maybe just because I have nothing else to say. So
no,
this might be
real.
really good.
No, I do this. Like it's a thing. In fact, I start a lot of my classes that way. How are you guys doing with the weather? Like it's changing a lot. It feels windy. Do you feel windy? I don't know. It happens.
Is it? Yeah.
It's a thing.
It probably derives from like the farmer phase.
Maybe.
Because it made such a big deal.
Well, it influences a lot of our body constitution.
Does it really?
If I go on that whole line of thinking, I guess, and as to why I do bring it up sometimes in yoga classes. So there is a purpose sometimes. But I decided to read the little article because I was curious what he had to say. I was curious. Very interesting. I know. Okay.
Do I need to, is that like the word on Pee-wee's Playhouse and we'll all scream every time we say curious? Just kidding. That would probably be annoying to you.
Yeah, sorry guys. We won't scream. But
just imagine Sherry the couch lifting her arms.
I never watched Pee-wee's Playhouse. I wasn't allowed to.
Really?
Yes. He was a creeper. My parents decided he was a creeper.
Well,
they didn't say that.
Right, but
I know. Sad face. But my husband grew up with it, so he still thinks it's funny. It's weird.
You should watch an episode just for kicks and giggles.
I think he tried to, and he was like, okay, never mind. I'm never watching that again.
It's slightly uncomfortable.
It is kind of bad. So I read that article, and he kind of talked more or less about a scenario where he tried this thing out. He was at a party. He was really uncomfortable. He didn't he's standing at the food table trying to, okay, what can I say to people? How can I even get past this? And every once in a while, he called it, you strike it rich, right? You find a conversation with somebody. You can talk about all this cool stuff. You have, someone to talk to later, or maybe you even talk outside of the party, whatever. But he decided to run this little experiment, and he called it, I'm using the phrase, I'm curious. So he would meet these different individuals, and if he asked a question, he would phrase it around the words, I'm curious. So for example, if they start talking about, you start with, oh, I do this and I do that and I teach here, or whatever their job is, right? What do you do for a living? I do this. So then if it kind of stopped dead in the water, he'd use the phrase, well, I'm curious. Whatever he would ask afterwards. And it would spark the conversation, and they would talk and open up and share all these things, and they'd actually have a conversation past. And with people he didn't, think he would normally talk to much more besides, what do you do? Okay, well, that's nice. I'm going to walk over here awkwardly to the next table and get another drink, right? And then he compared it to a couple of other dudes, I guess, that are in the podcast world as well. And they use similar ideas, similar phrasing. And the reason he said it's so successful, after he's done a little bit more of his own, I guess, not just a trial at the party kind of research and seeing how it exists outside of that, it works because it kind of shows total humility, right?
Right. And being teachable.
Oh, yeah. You're not just asking a blatant, well, I heard that whatever. Or, well, isn't that, like, you're not coming off so strong in your opinions already. You're just open, even if you have an opinion on it, you're open to whatever the other person's experience is, even if it's related to just work. So I kind of put it off to the side in my mind a little bit. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool concept, right? But I started finding all these other weird scenarios for me during the week that it spilled over into, right? So like scenarios with my kids when they would come home and or that's supposed to be the complaining voice, by the way.
Oh, I got it.
You got that one?
Yeah.
For listeners, if you weren't sure what that sounded like, it was, or what that meant, it is that they were complaining. Something went wrong during the day or whatever. And sometimes I'm a little, should you have done that? Or could you have done something better?
Yes, me too.
Right? Instead of, and I just, it like popped into my head and I was like, what if I just was curious? Even if I don't say the words I'm curious, what would it look like in these scenarios to be curious, to ask curious questions? Oh, well, how did that happen? Or what did you think when that happened? Or what did you feel about, like, I got all kinds of stuff out of my freaking kids. Yes. It was no longer yes or no. Oh yeah. They had no idea that I was using the method on them. And the place that showed up the most, that was like my aha moment, was I went on a walk with my husband this week, and apparently, I'm sure this is a surprise to everyone, I can be a little blanket statement. Like,
me too.
No, this is what it is. No, like I will even say no to completely disregard what that other person said. If I'm really close to you, well, it's this. Or, well, you're forgetting that. Like, really know it all. Oh, dang it. I thought I'd buried that part of myself a long time ago. And apparently the conversation we were having was a little bit heated, or it started to get that way. Some of what I'd said was triggering. But I wasn't listening to him. And he kept saying that. And finally I was like, okay, what am I, like, I thought I was, and I said that. I thought I was listening to you because I was asking you questions. He said, you were like attacking me. Those were not questions. And it hit me the same concept. If I was curious, I wouldn't be approaching him like that, right? I think I'm acting that way in my head, but I was, well, what about this? Well, what about that?
You were questioning,
like, his motives.
And his beliefs.
Yes.
You weren't questioning his process or
like, I wasn't really trying to find anything out, was I?
No, you're trying to prove your point.
Yeah.
I've done that. Sometimes I actually think that is not a bad thing.
Time and place. Yeah, legit.
But for a conversation on a walk, probably not an interrogation time or...
How did you come to these conclusions? You're wrong. Oh, shoot. And as soon as I quickly apologized, even though it had to swallow a lot of bile to do that, it was really hard.
Is it always hard for you too?
Apparently. Okay. Yeah. Because I think that the other person should know and recognize that I'm trying really hard. So I shouldn't have to say sorry. It's the dumbest logic ever. I know. In fact, my 13-year-old and I have had this discussion because he got really upset the other day about something. He's like, I don't understand why you're still talking about it. Because we were attacking him. Okay, fine, whatever. And I was like, because I guess I feel like you're not listening. So I have to keep saying it so you understand. And if I keep saying it, then you'll understand, right? And he was like, I don't understand how much more I need to acknowledge what you're saying so that you leave me alone. And I don't feel like I should have to apologize because you should just, he said the exact same words almost. I feel like you should understand that I'm doing the best I can. So why should I have to say sorry? And I was like, oh, dang, you know.
Did you recognize it in that instant?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I totally can see. Because his feelings were hurt and he feels misunderstood. So why should he apologize for something that he still did that hurt somebody else? Totally my logic. Totally. Well, you misunderstood me. I don't have to apologize.
That's interesting because even as my 5-year-old will do something on accident.
Yes.
And not realize she needs to apologize. And I said, I know you did this on accident and you're not taking the blame necessarily by saying sorry, but you're acknowledging that your accident had an ill effect on someone else. And it's like that shame factor creeps in so fast. I'm like, no, you don't have anything to be shameful about. You didn't purposefully try and spill paint on that person. It was an accident.
Yeah.
But she gets it mixed up.
Yes.
So she's like, but Mom, I did it on purpose.
Oh, shoot. And you're like,
did? Well, then you need to say sorry. But I did it on purpose. purpose.
Oh, so she is trying to say she didn't do it on purpose.
Right.
Oh, bless her
So
little
she was-
heart.
And she doesn't get
Her
hot and
English
cold either.
fails us, right?
I don't understand. She's like, I'm so hot. And she'll be putting on coats. And I'm like, I do not understand you.
Not getting this.
So we need to work on opposites, apparently.
Don't worry. She's still 5, Shalene. You've got time. Oh, geez.
So, but yeah, it's the same concept, right?
Yeah, and
It's-
that's a total rabbit trail for a second, but I super actually want to add that into our conversation about sorry. This same lovely soul of mine,
Mm-hmm.
we did have another conversation about saying sorry and why it's so important. It's not even necessarily for the other person, right?
Really?
I don't think so. I think sorry is for you because like how humbled was I in that moment for a second to go, oh my gosh, I did misunderstand this person. And so me saying sorry not only helped for me to get back in that curious space where I was really listening, but it helped me to like forgive my own pride. I don't know if that sounds really weird, but it stopped the shame cycle for me because I can have really high expectations of myself. And so it's a weird twisted way to like, I don't know if we have the vocabulary all the time to express that. But when my 13-year-old did get, I feel misunderstood. Why should I apologize for that? That actually reinforces shame.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it does. I can't speak for all the humans,
Right.
but for me, it does. And so it was a really nice like reset. Like,
Good.
oh, okay, I shouldn't have kept doing that. I do have a tendency to be like Hermione Granger, and you know, this is not a setting that is necessary, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to be mad at my Hermione Granger-ness, and I can let it go and just
Save it for another time. When
save
it's
it for another
appropriate.
time when I need to be, and get back. And it stopped. I mean, he didn't finish divulging all the things, but he backtracked, said what he needed to say. I validated it. Conversation was over, and we moved on. And we moved on without being mad the rest of the day.
Good.
Right? Like it healed the whole moment, and it just has sparked this thing where each day I'm trying really hard to kind of approach it a little more with that curiosity. Really simple, right? Like I'm curious. I'm curious why this person did this thing. I'm curious why lots of them are why questions. You know, why did they cut me off? Or why are they so annoying and didn't call me back? Or I don't know.
It's probably a good intervening step in the process of making up stories.
Oh man.
You know, it's a lot of times
Our thought processes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, that person saw that I was driving a red car and they hate red, and they saw that I was a girl and they hate girls too, so they cut me off, right?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Even if
And-
it was true, still ridiculous. So like,
Right.
like why would I even entertain that as being,
Right.
I should never drive a red car or be red or be a girl.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think, gosh, I'm curious why they cut me off. Sometimes I'd even just cut the thought off right there. Of
Yeah.
like, I
Seriously.
don't really want to pursue that. It has nothing to do with me, you know?
Oh my gosh. The energy that takes
Yeah.
is like so not necessary.
Yeah, like
In
I'd
that
rather think
instance.
about what I'm going to eat in 5 minutes.
Speaking of which, I'm going to have me a delicious lunch today.
You are?
I'm really excited about it.
What is it?
I'm just having pho, but I love me some like pho when it's cold and windy and I'm meeting a friend.
Oh, fun.
You made me think about lunch. I was getting really excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I think the curious thing is, I think it's really good for the other person because it allows them to be an expert. And who doesn't want to be an expert in something
right?
and feel important? And it's not like you're doing it to stroke their ego.
But what a
right?
great way to validate someone on the regular, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't even have to agree with everything they tell me, if depending on what we're talking about, obviously.
Right.
But it's just how does real dialogue happen? It has to come from a place of sharing like that, and it gives them the opportunity to. And I might learn something cool in the process.
Yeah. I was on a plane recently, and the gentleman sitting next to me was basically said, I'm curious, what do you think about Trump?
Oh,
And I told him how I felt.
yeah.
And he sat and listened to me. And I thought maybe he was on the same page.
Because he kept quiet and just listened the whole
Yeah,
time.
he
Like
did.
he genuinely listened.
He did. And then I said, well, how do you feel about Trump? And he said, well, and he came out with a totally different opinion.
Really?
And so I tried to really honor that. I don't want to fight about politics because like
Yeah.
we talked about before, I don't know anything. I said, I don't follow politics.
yeah.
And apparently, according to my uncle, I don't care about anything in my life if I don't care about politics. So there you go. I was like laughing. He posted that and I said, well, I guess I don't care about anything in my life.
Oh, shoot.
And he laughed at that. So I'm glad he didn't take it as much of fighting words as I kind of meant it to be. But anyway, I guess.
He kind of laughed and shook his head, huh?
Yeah.
That is funny.
So, but maybe there is truth to that. I have no idea. Maybe if you don't care about politics, you
I
don't
struggle
care about
with that one. I tried to listen to a talk show like on NPR or something.
Mhm.
The struggle is real. I can't, Shalene, it's really hard. Like, I'm interested in a lot of the topics, but this talking forever and analyzing every little thing or giving our opinions ad nauseum, like it's not that I'm not interested in politics. I'm not interested in politicking.
Yeah. And picking apart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he gave his opinion and how he knows what he knows based on the information that he's been given. And I offered him the same courtesy of like, that's really interesting.
And how did the conversation end? Did it just kind of end? Like after
we moved on to something else.
Oh, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no.
Actually, I told him a story. I just wanted to give another piece because my husband has a photographer friend. I said, I don't know politics, but I know him as a person based on this experience. That my husband has a photographer friend who is very liberal, but had a job to go photograph Donald Trump. And this was before he was president. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Trump said, hey, we're having this buffet tonight. I would love to invite you and your crew to this dinner. Mm-hmm. So they showed up. It was in Florida, I think. And they couldn't get in because they didn't have jackets, suit coats.
Oh.
And so Mr. Trump came to them and said, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that it was suit coat only. Tell me what you want on the buffet and I will go get it for you and bring it to you in this side room. And he went and filled plates for all of those men that he didn't know. He didn't have anything to benefit from helping these people.
And he did it himself?
He did it himself and filled the plates for them and brought it to them and just apologized again. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And
so that it wasn't awkward and all of those things.
And that, I mean, I don't think it changed the politics of the photographer, but he realized that
he's a human.
He's a human and he was kind to someone who it didn't matter to be kind to. You know, it wasn't a game. So I just shared that story.
I love stories of humanity. They make me happy.
And just said, you know, and just kind of shut it down that way. It's like, I don't know anything about what's going on really politically.
Yeah.
But I do know this part about him being a human being.
Interesting. Really interesting. Yeah. And then it just kind of went from there.
And then we talked about astrology, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. That's so cool. What a neat, what a neat way to be able to have a conversation like that. It sounds like you both kind of did the same thing, right? I mean, I'm curious, more or less, without even realizing that. I just love that phrase. I think
do too.
It's going to be just something that I work with a lot over the next little while. I feel like I've learned a ton just from our last recording. And sometimes it's exhausting to feel like I'm learning that much all at once and trying to initiate and put it in my life. But those little nuggets, they make a difference, you know, like they just, I don't know. I love little tools I can just put in my little toolbox and save for later, I guess.
Yeah, I really do like that. And like you said before, the humility it takes to do that puts you in a place of receptiveness, I feel like.
Yeah. And I thought I was pretty good at that. Like I've always kind of,
I think you are too.
But it has shifted so that it's not even just, sometimes it comes from like this moral background of what it should be. Well, we're supposed to be understanding and we're supposed, like the Hermione Granger approach to it still though, right? Like, so it's no longer just the list of things I'm checking off to do. It's because I'm genuinely interested. Oh, you know what else sparked that? I just had the thought pop into my head because one of the things I learned, I had to do this little personality quiz again. And you know how I love these.
Both of us do.
We're so addicted. Okay. Can't help it. As part of the marriage retreat that I went on with my husband a couple weekends ago, it was done through the military and it was really kind of a cool experience because the military tries every once in a while to get a group of, the unit out here, the group, yikes, the chaplain, whoever it is that's trying to organize all this stuff. him
Wow.
through the Guard out here in Salt Lake. He or their group, they have recognized, the military in general has recognized that relationships, when they're fostered and supported better, like between spouses and families,
Mm-hmm.
that it reflects on performance and
Go
stability. I know, go figure. Surprise. And the way that airmen perform, like bottom line. So we were part of the drawing, or the initial group that responded
cool.
that got to go. Yes, we got to go for free to Park City, which was just a cool experience.
Yeah.
And they give you a lot of material. They follow this special this special group, or this special material. We did modules and all this other stuff. Anyways, one of the personality quizzes, it's not one I was super familiar with. Like, I've done Hartman personality profile and all this other stuff. And it was kind of a rainbow wheel, like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple were the different colors. And the way that you answered the questions, you kind of have an idea of where you might more strongly be a certain type of personality. And mine fell into what's green, which is really accepting of others. Yes. But one of the strengths that they have is a big picture approach, and the limitations, because every strength has some limitations. It just does. So a big picture approach leaves out the individual, because you're striving so hard for this ultimate harmony or acceptance of so many that you leave out, which just seems kind of funny, right? Like you're accepting, but it still ended up leaving out the individual. And that was like this little component for me. Like I keep joking about the Hermione Granger thing, but she's just for a lot of us, that's a character that we know and recognize. And if we have tendencies or characteristics like it, we can relate to, right? She's got a big picture approach. This is the way it should be. This is how we tolerate everyone, or tolerate everything, or, whatever it is and we need that. We need that for sure. But then you lose sight of the individual, or the individual circumstance, or whatever. And I guess it's helped me to kind of hone in on that a little more. Be curious about like what's really going on here.
Cool.
I like it.
I do too. And I don't know. I think sometimes with the individual, that's where the magic happens.
It is. It really is. The big picture is massively important, but all those components make it up.
Yeah.
We need it.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Liz. I'm going to be more curious. And I think I'm going to especially use it with my kids this week.
Yeah. I'd love to hear how that goes when we talk again.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Cool. Do you have a question of the week for us? Because I don't. I did too. I feel like that was my...
Well, it's not that exciting because it has to do with TV. So should I pick a different one?
I don't know. Let's ask it. See if it's dumb.
Is there a TV show that you found recently or really excited that's back on?
Not recently. But I do know that The Marvelous Miss Maisel is coming back, and I cannot wait. That's the show I'm really excited about.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
November, December-ish or something. What about you?
A Million Little Things, I think.
A Million Little Things? Okay.
Is back on. But all of my shows, I love a good medical show. So The Resident, New Amsterdam, Grey's Anatomy.
Those are
in.
your jam?
I don't know why.
Interesting. Maybe you were a doctor in a past life.
Yeah, maybe. But like I do have to close my eyes sometimes during the surgery.
Oh, do you really?
I used to never have to do that, but kind of now I do.
Interesting. Can you, they're totally fake.
I know.
You can tell, right?
No.
No? Oh,
not really. I've never seen a real one.
Oh, so yeah, okay. I guess there'd be that, right?
Anyway.
Okay, so what's it about?
What?
The show.
Million Little Things?
Yeah.
It's about this group of friends, and it's like This Is Us, if you've seen that, where it kind of builds. It's like this mystery. You don't have all the pieces of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But this man commits suicide.
Oh.
And all the friends are trying to figure out why.
Oh.
And they all have families and different situations. And it's got the guy from Psych in it, who's hilarious. So I like watching
I was going to say, that sounds not funny, though. That sounds stressful or sad.
It is a little bit.
But you kind of see the dynamics differently in relationships and stuff, too. So.
Yeah, you just kind of peeling back the mystery in some ways. And it's a soap opera, really.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it.
How do you watch it?
Hulu.
Okay. I'll look into it. I currently have some Hulu in my life, so
I really like it.
In my free time.
But you had no shows? No, Maisel, you said.
Maisel. Yeah. Yep, that's my one.
Right.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
And remember to keep on learning.
Because it does matter.
And so do you.